I'm a primary school teacher, which means my work schedule is pretty straightforward. I have established hours at school, and Tuesday afternoons are dedicated to staff meetings that usually last until 6. This means I typically arrive home around 7. My wife, Terry, whom I've been married to for 31 years, often feels exhausted on Tuesday nights after her gym workouts. Because of this, I usually take it upon myself to make dinner while she showers and tackles other household chores. However, one day our principal unexpectedly called off the staff meeting. It was only 3:30, and on a whim, I decided to head home early to get a jump on dinner preparations. I also thought I could tackle a few remaining chores before Terry returned from the gym. Lately, I'd noticed her becoming more distant, and I hoped that a candlelit dinner in a relaxing environment, without the usual domestic chaos, might help reignite the intimacy and passion between us. Our marriage had been going through a rough patch, largely due to financial stress. I watched as Terry seemed to pull away from me, increasingly wanting control over our lives and becoming stubborn and argumentative when things didn't go her way. Still, I prided myself on being patient. Today, I got home like any other day, parking in our garage, a good distance from the house. We had placed the garage this way when our kids were small, to keep their sleep undisturbed by car noises. Their rest was vital for both their health and our sanity, offering us precious quiet time to recharge. As I parked, I took a leisurely stroll to our 2-story home. I noticed Terry's car in the garage. It was a familiar sight on her gym days since she usually preferred to take the bus. As I stepped through the back door, my first thought was to tidy up the space. I had a knack for home repairs, so all the door hinges and moving parts were well maintained and quiet. Nothing grated on us more than creaky doors or squeaky hinges. But the moment I walked in, something unusual caught my eye. Terry's handbag was still resting on the kitchen counter. I knew she would be annoyed about that. She was always meticulous about keeping her purse close by, no matter where she was in the house. This unexpected sight shifted my focus, leading me to notice other oddities. Her gym clothes, a tight leotard and a large towel, lay discarded on the floor near the counter. Then I heard noises coming from our bedroom upstairs. A troubling thought crossed my mind. What if Terry had suddenly fallen ill? I cautiously climbed the carpeted stairs, nearly tripping over a pair of men's shoes left on the steps. Those shoes weren't mine, nor were the pants, shirt, tank top, and socks strewn about the stairs, mixed in with Terry's underwear, the special pieces she only brought out on occasions like our wedding anniversaries. I froze in place. A cold sweat broke out, and I felt my heart race and then skip a beat. I had to sit down on the stairs to gather my thoughts. My disbelief quickly transformed into a surge of anger, an emotion I rarely experienced. Usually, I'm composed and controlled, a result of years spent managing a classroom of 30 children. But now that calmness was slipping away. Adrenaline coursed through my veins, igniting a level of anger I had never known before. I had never even been in a real fight. These intense emotions felt utterly alien to me. In the midst of this turmoil, curiosity propelled me to cautiously ascend the stairs and step into our shared closet. Before me stood 2 doors. One led to the bedroom, while the other opened to the upstairs bathroom. To get to the bedroom, I had to pass through the ensuite bathroom, which opened into our spacious walk-in closet. From there, I had a direct view into the bedroom. As I approached the wardrobe door, I could see the bed through a slightly ajar closet door, positioned just right for me to witness the unfolding scene. It felt like I was watching a horror movie, and I couldn't tear my gaze away. Those moans and grunts I had heard earlier now intensified the mix of disbelief and fury welling inside me. I pulled out my phone and started recording what I was witnessing, knowing I'd need this evidence later to prove to myself that this nightmare was all too real. My eyes remained glued to the painful spectacle of betrayal right in front of me. This was my wife, my lover, my life partner, someone I had placed unwavering trust in. She was the mother of our grown children, a woman in her 40s who worked out, engaged in charitable activities, and claimed to love me above all else. This was betrayal at its most raw and fundamental. Overwhelmed, I finally stopped recording and quietly made my way down the stairs. I left our home and wandered aimlessly, not quite sure where I was headed. Eventually, I found myself at a park, miles away from home. There, I splashed some water on my face, sat down, and reviewed the recording on my phone. I turned the volume down to avoid alarming the children playing nearby. The destruction of my life, everything I had come to consider normal, was right there on the screen, captured in digital clarity. It was the wreckage of our marriage, and at that moment, I finally allowed the tears to flow. It was around 7 p.m., the usual time I returned home on staff meeting days, when I found myself back at the back door. Terry immediately sensed something was off. My disheveled appearance, red eyes, and pale complexion were clear indicators. She looked at me with genuine concern and asked, "Honey, what's wrong? You look really pale. Is everything all right? Let me get you a drink. Are you okay?" Her worried eyes bore into me, but I couldn't bring myself to reveal the truth behind my distress. In a shaky voice, I responded, "Not really. Something upset my stomach. Maybe it was lunch." I was just finishing up my shower and heading to bed when Terry said, "Okay, hun, but take a container with you. If you get sick, it might ruin those nice clean sheets." Those sheets, once pristine, were now stained by something far worse than last night's dinner: betrayal. I replied more firmly this time, "It's fine. I'll sleep in the spare room until I feel better," and made my way downstairs to the guest bedroom. For the next few days, that became my routine. Terry went about her usual activities, seemingly oblivious to the turmoil I was feeling. I was running on autopilot at work, continuing to sleep in the spare bedroom under the guise of being unwell. I knew I couldn't keep up that excuse for long. Eventually, I returned to our bedroom, but it was tough to sleep in that place of betrayal. Terry acted as if everything was perfectly normal. When Monday rolled around, I had made a decision about my next steps. I needed to figure out whether this affair was an ongoing issue or just a one-time incident. I informed my principal that I would be undergoing an unexpected medical procedure the next day, and he arranged for a substitute teacher to cover my class. Tuesday morning, I left home as usual but parked a few streets away from our neighborhood, then walked back toward our street. I knew the back entrances to the neighboring yards well and proceeded cautiously, making sure no neighbors could see me. I slipped into our garage at the back of the house, changed into casual clothes and soft, quiet socks, ready for stealth. Then it was just a matter of waiting. I recalled that there hadn't been an extra car at home when I unexpectedly returned last Tuesday, so I couldn't depend on the sound of a car pulling in to warn me of any visitors. They must have walked here. I quietly navigated our gardens until I found a spot where I could keep an eye on our front door while hidden by the hedges and bushes we had planted for privacy. As I waited, I could hear Terry moving about, completely unaware of my presence. She went through her usual routines, confident that everything was proceeding normally. I listened as she tackled kitchen duties, washing dishes and loading the dishwasher, before moving on to the living room to vacuum and dust. This continued until around 11:30, when she headed upstairs. I faintly heard the sound of the shower followed by silence, then the toilet flushing. About 45 minutes later, she came back downstairs and opened the front door, leaving it ajar as if inviting someone in without hesitation. I didn't have to wait long. Around 12:30, he arrived. I didn't know who he was, but I saw him approach from the left side of our front gate. My phone recorded about 10 seconds of video, capturing side profiles and even an almost direct view of his face. He wasted no time. As he entered, I heard words that sent chills down my spine. "Hey, lover! I hope you're dressed for a big workout." Terry's response was just as chilling. "Of course. You always love it when I wear these." Sometimes I can't help but wonder if it was those traits that initially drew you to me, or perhaps it was these. I had seen enough to confirm that the affair was ongoing. Their familiarity suggested it wasn't just a one-time fling. As they moved toward the bedroom, I retreated to the garage, struggling to steady myself while my heart raced. I grappled with a storm of burning questions. Who was this man? Why was this happening? How would I confront Terry? Everything felt suddenly chaotic. In that moment, I realized I couldn't love my wife, Terry, after this betrayal. The thought of a future intimate connection with her felt impossible. I saw no signs of caution on her part, which raised serious concerns about potential risks if she was involved with others. I wondered why she had never opened up about her feelings. Memories of Terry's 2-year gym sessions flooded my mind, a place where she bonded with local married women and participated in charity events. Perhaps the gym held answers to our problems. As a teacher, I had access to computers, printers, and various resources, so I decided to start my investigation by printing out profile pictures from my phone footage to identify who was involved. Maybe that would eventually lead me to the where and when of this whole situation. Discovering the who didn't take much effort. The following Thursday, Terry had her regular gym session, and I suggested I join her to see if I might want to become a member, especially since I had a break from school due to midterms. Terry wasn't too keen on the idea, offering excuses like, "It's just a group of married ladies, and we mostly chat during the session," along with other flimsy reasons. I persisted and eventually convinced her to let me accompany her to the gym the next Thursday. As I walked into the gym, it felt like a scene from an old western, where everyone turns to stare at the stranger entering the saloon. All eyes were on me, and I noticed some hushed conversations among the women. Terry brushed it off, explaining that they weren't used to seeing her with someone during her regular sessions. The workout began with the usual warm-ups and stretching, followed by about an hour and a half of rotating between exercise stations targeting different muscle groups. I tried to keep up, but about 45 minutes in, I needed to take a break. My blood sugar was dropping, and I knew I needed something sweet soon. After grabbing some jelly beans and sitting in a nearby chair, I began to pay closer attention to Terry. It was clear she was quite nervous, frequently glancing toward the staff area where the instructors entered the main hall. I took a closer look at the gym itself, which had the typical layout found in gyms around the world. Exercise stations scattered throughout the room and wall mirrors at each station for participants to check their form and muscle definition. I decided to explore the gym a bit more and noticed a wall near the hall exit with staff information. It was a good way to pass the time while waiting for Terry. I caught sight of the top photo, which featured a woman in fantastic shape, though her age was hard to pin down. My thoughts drifted to the caption, "Miss Elizabeth, WS Director and Owner." Below her image were her contact details and availability hours. Below that, 3 more photos caught my attention. 2 women and 1 man. It was at this moment that I froze, realizing this man was Terry's lover, the one involved with my wife, apparently with her enthusiastic consent. I scanned his description, Mr. Philip Boney, head of exercise regime planning and personal body training. As I mentally noted his phone number, I noticed that Terry was no longer at the station where I had last seen her. I returned to my seat and began to scrutinize each exercise area, searching for my wife. After some looking, I finally spotted her in what appeared to be a frantic conversation with a man partially hidden behind some powerlifting equipment. He was near the entrance to the staff area, clearly being kept at bay by Terry's gestures, urging him to leave before she hurried back to her designated station. She hadn't realized I'd witnessed her absence and the interaction, and I was boiling with a rage I wasn't accustomed to feeling. When Terry returned to my side, it was obvious that I wasn't well. "Are you okay? Did it take a while for your blood sugar to bounce back?" she asked. "Yeah, I'm fine now. Are you ready to go?" I replied, cutting her off before she could say more. Just then, Miss WS made an announcement over the gym's PA system. She explained that the usual final exercise session wouldn't happen that night because Mr. Bounty had suddenly fallen ill and had to leave. The news was met with groans and sighs from most of the women present, as it seemed Mr. Bounty's sessions were a highlight for many of them. I thought to myself, this definitely needs investigating. I glanced at Terry. She remained silent during the announcement but appeared almost relieved. "Let's go," she quickly said, gathering her towel and handbag from the area where everyone kept their belongings during the workout. We were just about to leave when one of the ladies, whom I didn't initially recognize, approached Terry. "It's such a shame that Phil couldn't finish the session as usual tonight," she commented. Terry replied, "True," and headed for the car, signaling she didn't want to engage in the conversation any longer. "Okay, see you," the lady said, but Terry dismissed her with a curt, "Bye," as she jumped into the car faster than I'd ever seen her move before. The ride home was silent, with Terry leaning back, eyes closed, and taking deliberate, slow breaths. I couldn't help but notice these shifts in her demeanor. Perhaps now, in her seemingly relieved state, I could pry more information out of her. "So, that was quite an interesting session, dear," I remarked, trying to keep my tone light. "The workout stations seemed set up really well. No wonder you're looking so fit and trim." "Thanks, honey," she replied. "You're absolutely right. They offer an extensive program, and I enjoy going there. The ladies are friendly too. It's just a shame about Mr. Bounty." I prodded further. "You mean Bonty?" She corrected me a bit too quickly. Philip Boney. He usually wraps up every session with an exercise routine that really pushes everyone to their limits. It was disappointing that he wasn't there tonight. Inside, I couldn't shake the thought that she was fully committed to this lie. I knew exactly how far Mr. Bounty was pushing her body, but all I said was, "Maybe next Thursday he'll be feeling better." I was unable to get rid of the image of the upcoming intimate encounter between my wife and Mr. Bounty. During the next school week, I had pickup duty. For those unfamiliar, that's when teachers supervise the area where parents pick up their kids by car after school. It's usually a chaotic scene, with kids eager to head home, chat with friends, and spot their parents all at once. For parents, it's a test of patience as they navigate the stop-and-go car queue, hoping their child is ready by the time they reach the front. To my surprise, near the end of pickup time, a car pulled up, and the driver was the woman who had tried to speak to Terry at the gym the previous night. "Hi," she greeted me. "I'm sorry, but I'm new to this whole pickup thing and completely lost track of time. Is my son Timothy here?" As a teacher, I was used to this, especially when someone was new to the school. So I assured her I'd go find Timothy while my fellow teacher supervised the remaining kids. I located Timothy near his classroom, chatting with another staff member's child. "Hey, Tim," I said. "Your mom's here to pick you up. Come with me to the pickup area." He looked puzzled. "That's odd. Mom is usually busy with her gym instructor on Friday afternoons. Sometimes she doesn't arrive until around 5:30. The moment I heard gym instructor, my suspicions deepened. I kept my tone casual. "It's good to see your mom taking care of her health. Exercise is crucial for a healthy lifestyle. Do you happen to know the instructor's name?" I hoped his answer wouldn't confirm my fears. "Oh, his name is Bounty or something like that," replied Timothy. "He works at a local gym and often gives private lessons at people's homes. That's what I want to do when I grow up. Mom really enjoys her workouts with him on Friday evenings. She looks radiant by the time we get home. It's fantastic. Fridays are always takeout nights because Mom rarely has time to cook." No way, I thought. This Bounty guy is involved with more people than just my wife. I walked Timothy back to his car, where his mom expressed her gratitude for my concern. "No problem," I said. "It's all part of the service. By the way, I don't believe we've met before. I'm Gerard Diaz. The kids call me MD for short." "Nice to meet you," I said, shaking her hand as she introduced herself. "Hi, I'm Mary Jones. I remember seeing you at the gym last Thursday." I stood there, reflecting on my wife Terry's hurried exit. The way she had rushed off when I mentioned Mr. Bounty told me everything I needed to know. Her sudden shift from an apologetic parent to someone pale and guarded confirmed my suspicions. Yes, all right. I'll see you again, Mr. Diaz, goodbye," she said, her voice trembling as she sped away. As I pondered the future we had built together, it felt like the foundation was crumbling beneath me. It was now a bleak vision, one where I was alone, and Terry had become a ghost of my past life. My anger pushed me into uncharted territory, the quest for revenge. I started to meticulously track the mundane details of our shared life. Who handled the bills? What insurance did we have? When were the utilities due? These questions consumed me as I gathered the information I would need. Through my investigations, I unearthed some unexpected truths. Our mortgage was almost paid off, and my superannuation account had swelled to an impressive $900,000. a testament to the teachers' union's insistence on solid retirement contributions. This newfound knowledge was a double-edged sword, revealing both our assets and the betrayal I was now forced to reckon with. With our children grown and financially independent, I had a plan. We had about $30,000 set aside for a dream trip that would never happen. It was time to put that money to another use before Terry realized I was onto her. I devised a scheme to make various household appliances malfunction, quietly disconnecting wires and claiming that repairs had been made. I'd tell her that Mr. So-and-so had charged less than expected and stashed the cash away. In this way, I managed to siphon off nearly $20,000. I even bought tools under the pretense of repairs, always paying in cash and then returning them for refunds. Deceit wasn't my nature, but Terry's betrayal had eroded any sense of trust. I felt like I was morphing into a stranger, someone I never thought I would be. Terry continued her Thursday workouts with Bounty while I withdrew from any intimacy between us. We existed as mere housemates, disconnected and cold. My personal items slowly vanished into boxes in the garage, a place she rarely entered. She never noticed, too absorbed in her routines. Once, she did ask about the missing items, but I brushed it off, knowing that I was preparing for a future without her. I kept putting off the inevitable, spinning excuses about broken items or things I simply no longer needed. Terry accepted these justifications, likely because most of my belongings clashed with her preferred color palette and the ambience she sought to create. As I cleared out more of my things, it didn't alter the atmosphere of the house much. Instead, it struck me how much I had capitulated to her tastes over the years. Eventually, I withdrew as much of my superannuation as I could and purchased a modest house on the outskirts of town. It was compact, just 2 bedrooms and a small yard, but it came with a garage and was conveniently close to my school. The remaining mortgage balance allowed me to manage the monthly payments comfortably, even on half my salary. It wasn't a grand mansion, but it was a reminder of how rewarding it can be to seek value outside the allure of flashy neighborhoods. My plans for separation were taking shape. I gradually began moving my belongings into the new house. Furniture wasn't a hurdle. I found plenty of secondhand treasures at thrift stores. Each piece felt pre-loved, once cherished but now discarded, just like my marriage. It was time for everyone involved to face the consequences of their actions. Then, one day during school pickup, I crossed paths with Mary Jones. I was alone with her son Timothy when she arrived, looking visibly distressed. Her eyes hinted at recent tears, a sight I had learned to recognize as a teacher attuned to the struggles of my students. "Mr. D, can I talk to you for a minute?" she asked, anxiety lacing her voice. "Of course," I replied, gesturing toward the benches I called my office. "Just park there and come over." As she parked, Timothy kicked his soccer ball nearby while Mary joined me on the bench. "I'm not sure how to start what I need to tell you," she began, her voice wavering. "I don't know how much you know about the gym." I looked at her intently. "I know that Terry enjoys going there. It's helped her stay fit and active." Mary hesitated, clearly struggling to articulate her thoughts. "There are things you should know about what happens there," she finally said. "Is it related to Philip Bounty?" I asked, my heart racing. Her reaction was immediate and fierce. "You have no idea how involved he is with those women." "I might have an inkling," I replied cautiously. "But please go on." "He's a player, targeting many of the regulars," she continued, tears welling in her eyes. When I pressed her for details, she added, "I was one of them until last week. We met every Friday at 12:30. Her voice trembled as she paused, looking away as if lost in those moments. I couldn't help but look away too, reminded of the painful reality. "I'm sorry for sharing this," she said, her voice breaking. I had genuinely enjoyed the connection we shared while it lasted. It was only when he found someone else to take my place that it ended abruptly, with no explanation. Just a cold sorry, no more. I had believed we might have a future together, but I couldn't have been more mistaken. Now, divorced and yearning for the affection that comes with marriage, I had hoped to experience it again with him. How wrong I was. Mary's candidness shocked me. How could she think it appropriate to share all of this? She must be in deep distress. Trying to offer some comfort, I responded hastily, "Marriages aren't always what they seem." She looked at me, her eyes searching mine, and slowly shook her head in disbelief. "You already know, don't you?" I admitted, "Yes, I know. Thank you for sharing this, though." I struggled to mask the bitterness in my tone. "I've set things in motion regarding the whole situation. I believe in karma, and I think it'll catch up with him soon. That guy has to face the consequences." Mary nearly shouted, her frustration palpable. "He doesn't care who he hurts or how, just as long as he satisfies his own ego. Something he can brag about to his buddies at the bar. If you want my help to get back at him, just say the word. He needs to pay, and pay dearly." After she called Timothy over and left, I sat there, lost in thought for a long while. When Mary shared her story, I found a strange relief in knowing I wasn't alone in this. My revenge plan, initially rooted in bitterness, now demanded deeper reflection. I pondered just how many other women he might be involved with from the gym. It was time to gather concrete evidence. I couldn't help but marvel at the man's stamina. "Even the devil doesn't tire," I mused. He worked at the gym every day except Mondays, when it was closed. I recalled the phone number posted on the gym's wall and traced it through the telecom's white pages. To my surprise, it led to an address just 3 blocks away from ours, perfectly convenient for him to slip over for his liaisons with my soon-to-be ex-wife. I told Terry I'd be going for a walk every day at 5 p.m., citing a specialist's recommendation. Luckily, she had no interest in joining me and assumed my absence wouldn't disrupt her plans. On my first evening stroll, I made my way to Bounty's address. It was a ground-floor apartment among several similar units. His car was absent, so I lingered nearby, waiting to track his return. He consistently left our house well before 6, making it likely he'd arrive home around that time. Just as expected, he walked into his apartment right before 6. This routine continued every day I could walk, except for my staff meeting days, when my schedule would clash. I suspected he followed this pattern whenever the gym was open. Did he have a different woman to rendezvous with on each of those days? I was determined to find out. To track his movements more effectively, I gradually started my walks earlier. I decided to take an entire week off from school, solely for this purpose. After some careful planning, I visited an electronics store and gathered the necessary equipment. A discreet long-range listening device, nothing resembling a satellite dish, of course, along with voice-activated and motion-activated cameras in full HD. I bought 5 in total, ensuring I had enough storage space for all the digital evidence I aimed to collect, along with an extra portable hard drive. On Monday, I installed one of the cameras in Bounty's apartment. His place was modest, a 1-bedroom with a sizable living and kitchen area. 1 camera sufficed for everything except the bedroom, but getting one into there was easy enough. I simply waited for him to head to the gym, then retrieved his keys from where he carelessly left them under the doormat. It was almost laughable how careless he was. Once the camera was set up and functioning, I left, knowing it would activate whenever he moved or made a sound, live streaming both video and audio to my computer, complete with date stamps. That evening, the camera began its work, capturing clear footage of him enjoying a takeout meal in front of his TV before heading to bed around 9 p.m. On Tuesday, I waited until the gym closed and slipped in through the back door, an entrance often overlooked during closing checks. Luck was on my side as I strategically placed the next camera in a private room at the back, where clients underwent health assessments. This was the same room where Bounty conducted his personal sessions. As I installed the camera, I felt a strange disquiet settle over me. What had I become? Spying on others, invading their privacy, I questioned my own motives. Where was this path leading me? By Wednesday, I seized the moment when Terry left for groceries and discreetly positioned the 3rd and 4th cameras in our bedroom and living area. When I reviewed Tuesday's footage, I found myself torn, surprised yet unsurprised by what I witnessed. Bounty woke up and promptly left, returning later with breakfast. Lazy guy, I thought. Can't even make his own meal. He lingered until the gym opened, leaving at 10:30. During that time, he made a revealing phone call. Julie, hi, it's Phil. Is he gone yet? Okay. See you at 12:30 at your place. Make sure to wear what I mentioned. No, I'll be careful. No one will see me enter your place. Did you say he was going for 3 days? All right, maybe I can come on Thursday and Friday as well. We'll talk this afternoon, lover. After hanging up, he left with a noticeable spring in his step, and I couldn't help but wonder how he intended to explain this to Terry. On Thursday, I transformed the garage into my command center, my computer ready to capture the unfolding drama. Almost immediately, Bounty's camera feed flickered to life on my screen. He had woken up, grabbed breakfast, and then returned to make a phone call. My heart raced as I recognized Terry's number flashing on the screen. Hey, it's Phil. How's my favorite slut feeling today? He said with a cocky grin. Phil, don't talk like that on the phone. You never know who could be listening. Luckily, my husband has gone to work. See you at 12:30 as usual. I felt a cold wave wash over me. Their casual banter stung like a fresh wound. Meanwhile, Mary, the enthusiastic parent from school, had taken on the task I'd set for her with gusto. She was compiling a list of all the women Bounty had been involved with, and within a week, she had names and addresses. To my shock and dismay, Terry's name was among them. By this point, I had nearly severed all ties with our house. It had lost its emotional resonance, becoming nothing more than a shell. Terry had commented on how strangely empty it felt lately, but I shrugged it off, saying I was just decluttering. She accepted that, content as long as her possessions remained untouched. I had moved most of my things to my new house, needing only 20 minutes to gather what remained and drive away. Consulting with a divorce attorney had been a pivotal step. All necessary documents were prepared, ready to be served at the right moment. The financial aspect had been dealt with as well. Our vacation savings were entirely depleted, transferred into my personal account. I meticulously organized all the receipts for my fictitious purchases, keeping them just in case I needed to provide evidence later. I adjusted the beneficiaries of my superannuation fund to our children and withdrew any accessible funds, establishing separate bank accounts, credit cards, and insurance policies in my name alone. Terry's car, its registration and insurance, was transferred solely into her name, making her completely responsible for it from that point forward. Unfortunately, I had no control over the house. I was at the mercy of the court's decisions. Next, I bought a new mobile phone registered solely in my name, ensuring it had an unlisted number. The old phone was deactivated, severing one more link to her. I prepared comprehensive packages of information for each husband or partner of the women on Mary's list. Each package included details of when and where Bounty had been involved with their partners, his name and address, and the location of the sexual health clinic in town, highlighting the unprotected nature of these encounters. I sent a detailed letter to the owner of the gym, suggesting it was time for a serious discussion with her head instructor. On our kitchen table, I left the divorce papers alongside printed photos from the surveillance footage, DVDs of their encounters, and my wedding ring, cut in half and smeared with something unpleasant. The note I left read, "Terry, I left you this damaged ring, a fitting symbol of what happened to our marriage. Please refrain from contacting me unless it's through the attorney mentioned in the divorce papers. I've requested the school to prohibit your access to the premises, so please avoid any attempts to reach me there. Disturbances on school grounds can lead to swift police intervention." I stepped back and looked at the mess I had left behind, a mix of rage and satisfaction swirling within me. The final curtain was falling, and I had orchestrated every note. I made sure to inform our children about my actions, ensuring there would be no room for confusion regarding the reason behind this breakup. I sent them copies of the DVDs, leaving no space for false narratives about who had initiated this separation. Driving to my new house, I braced myself for the fallout, which arrived swiftly and mercilessly. Somehow, the local newspapers caught wind of the scandal at the gym. The owner had no choice but to shut down the business and flee town. To add to the chaos, a former gym instructor was found in a downtown back alley, rumored to have been assaulted by a group of unidentified men. Divorce petitions flooded the local court, and many houses went up for sale, their owners desperate to escape the fallout of this scandal. On that fateful day, Terry returned home, only to discover my parting gifts. When she saw the evidence I had left behind, she fainted. Our perceptive 70-year-old neighbor witnessed her collapse and quickly called emergency services, sensing that something was terribly wrong. Terry tried repeatedly to contact me, but none of her attempts were successful. Frustrated, she even showed up at the school, which led to her arrest. After spending a night in a holding cell and receiving a stern warning from a magistrate, her efforts to reach me dwindled significantly.